everyone. I am wanting to go over a little bit of what happened in the Turkey chapter, and I know that your questions are due today, so you need to make sure you get them turned in. I've also been noticing that people haven't really been watching the videos I'm posting, which is only frustrating because I spend a lot of time making them and they're actually pretty helpful for you. So for example, some folks weren't able to post to the class discussion because they didn't watch the video on how to do that. So please make sure you're watching the videos for each thing. They're going to help you in the long run. So what I'm going to do is kind of go through the key for this assignment. You're welcome to go in and change or fix things if you got them wrong, and then you can turn it in. And if you don't watch the video, you don't get to do that. And then your test will be posted Friday or the next, depending on day one, Friday or Monday, and it'll be due the next class. So if you have questions, I will also be sending out a link for just a Google Hangout Meet for every day during Flex. You can pop in there. I'll have a window open and we can talk if you need to. So in terms of the amount of time that Eniyat spends since he left Afghanistan, it's been about 5.5 years. So I'll actually put that here for you. And he says that he spent a year in Pakistan and about 4.5 years in Iran. It was maybe under a year in Pakistan. So somewhere in there. And remember, he doesn't really know. And that's kind of the point. He was 14 when he decided to leave Iran, and he found out that it would cost about 700 tomans to get to Turkey and would take him about 10 months to get that much money. So he had to talk to other people, and they actually helped him pay for the journey because if you get a group of people together, it's a bit safer and better. This is a typo. I had a student teacher make this. Farheed. So the trafficker was a cousin of a person that he knew, and that's one of the reasons that he felt comfortable going on that trip. So there were 3 things he was supposed to buy for the trip. One was just really simple, nutritious food. One was nice clothes to wear in Istanbul when he got there. So if you're doing this mountainous journey and then you end up in a very fancy city, you don't want to have your old clothes on. And some sturdy shoes. And there were 77 people in Eniyat's group going to Turkey. That matters because, as you saw, it was almost like a river where different people from different ethnic groups showed up and then joined up together until they had this one big group, which some people talked about in discussions like that can be pretty dangerous because you've got a lot of people. But also, if you think about it from the trafficker's perspective, the more people they have in one trip, the easier it is safer it is for them, and the easier it is to get people through. And they don't mind losing a few people, which we see in this chapter if they have to. Also, the different ethnic groups have fights and disagreements, so it's important to think about, they had to keep the different groups apart, and we saw what happened in the chapter when they didn't do that. And the trafficker told the boys the trip would take 3 days, and it obviously takes a lot longer than that. So for this part of the thing, you could do a Google drawing, you could take a picture of a drawing and just insert it there. It can be stick figures, I don't really care, but we have a lot of imagery, we have a lot of senses going on, and I wanted to see if you could pick a place in that chapter with a page number where you noticed that. Obviously, Eniyat steals shoes from one of the guys, and he that might be part of why he was able to survive. If you know anything about outdoor adventuring, or like I lived in trail crew for a couple months one time, if you hurt your feet, you can't continue. In the military, that's like your number one priority is to take care of your feet. So if his feet get frostbitten and his toes start falling off, he's probably going to die, right? So by the time they get to the end of this incredible journey, it's 29 days, 12 people were missing from that group, which is pretty incredible. So I do want you to fill in just a quick sentence or two here. What was it like for him when he does get out of the mountains and he gets down into Istanbul? He's there for a little while, and then he ends up going in a truck to, he ends up kind of continuing on in a truck. So talk to me a little bit about what that was like, because that's also a pretty incredible experience. We talked about this already. So Eniyat eventually decides to go to Greece. There's just really no work for him. So while he was in Iran, he at least could get jobs. It might have been dangerous, but he couldn't really move up in society. But in Istanbul, there ends up being absolutely no opportunities. Istanbul, if you look at it on the map, is really kind of central to all the people fleeing the Middle East. And remember, this book is about a kid leaving Afghanistan. But then the Syrian refugee issue, which we're going to talk about a little bit in the next chapter in Greece happened, and Istanbul is like a gateway out of the Middle East and into Western Europe, or Eastern Europe. So it's really almost impossible for people who aren't from there to find a job, and even difficult for people who are. Um, so he did lie to get to Greece and to go on the dinghy with the other boys, another set of boys. He did lie and say that he can speak English so that they would take him. And they do get attacked by some wild boars, which are wild pigs. And they did see a boat that caused them to delay their journey, and they thought it was the Coast Guard. So if the Coast Guard catches them, then they're not going to let them into Greece. So for the last question, just predict what you think will happen to the boys on their journey. And we're going to see in the Greece chapter and the climax of the book how it goes. So I hope that you watched this, maybe fixed some of the answers if you didn't get them correct. Hopefully the test isn't too hard for you. You're welcome to use your reading. You should look over your reading terms before you take the test. That'll be important. But hopefully this is helpful to you. And if you I want to encourage you to watch the videos for everything that we're doing, because I think it will really help you. And I also think you probably miss this face, right? Miss your faces. So be well, and let me know if you have any questions.